Hey guys, tonight we gently wander under the starlit skies of ancient Maya cities, where each constellation tells a quiet story of time and rhythm. You are here, listening, easing into the stillness, letting imagination soften. Honestly, if you had to actually climb those stone steps, you probably would not make it past the second one. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. I also invite you to share in the comments where you are listening from and what time of day it is for you. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You walk slowly along a pathway that feels as though it hovers between centuries. The ground is firm beneath your feet, yet the moment feels suspended, caught in a quiet balance of past and present. Around you, the outlines of temples rise like soft silhouettes, their forms blurred by night. Each stone seems to carry a memory, though it offers it only in fragments, like whispers carried on the breeze. Above, the night sky unfolds, dazzling in its depth. There are so many stars your eyes cannot settle on just one. The more you look, the more the heavens seem to expand, until the horizon itself feels like a gentle breath. Somewhere nearby, an insect hums with rhythmic persistence, as though keeping time with the stillness. You smile softly, amused at how this tiny creature hums with more confidence than most of us manage on Monday mornings. You continue forward, noticing how history lingers in every shadow. These were the lands of the Maya, a civilization that thrived for nearly 3 millennia, from about 2000 BCE until the 1500s CE. That is longer than many modern nations have even existed. Their cities pulsed with trade, artistry, astronomy, and ceremony. Imagine waking each morning to the sight of pyramids rising into the sky, not merely symbols of grandeur, but structures woven into the rhythm of the cosmos. Every building seemed to lean toward the heavens, as though the stars were a trusted neighbor. Sometimes you wonder if your own home might benefit from such a celestial touch, perhaps a kitchen window lined up neatly with the Big Dipper. Ahead, you pause before a temple glowing faintly in the moonlight. Its steps, worn smooth by centuries of feet, once carried priests, dancers, astronomers, and children. Each left behind a small rhythm in the greater pulse of time. The Maya believed human life and cosmic life were woven together, and standing here you feel that truth. The stars above look less like distant fires and more like threads tying earth and sky into one vast tapestry. You tilt your head back. The Milky Way arches so gracefully overhead, it looks as if it were painted across the dark by unseen hands. You imagine gods with brushes dipped in starlight, sweeping strokes of light across the heavens. And unlike most of us during a home improvement project, they left behind no messy splatters. You rest your hand on the cool stone, feeling its steady presence. Across the Maya world, archaeologists have uncovered temples, pyramids, and observatories whose designs hum with purpose. Many align precisely with rising or setting celestial bodies, as though the buildings themselves were instruments tuned to the heavens. At Esmol, Köpen, and Chichen Itza, these alignments are undeniable. Yet how such accuracy was achieved without telescopes or satellites remains a mystery. Perhaps patience was their greatest tool. The Maya, after all, were the original binge-watchers of the sky. Nearby, you notice the curved form of an ancient observatory. Round and elevated, these towers gave Maya astronomers unobstructed views of the heavens. Through narrow openings, they tracked the movements of stars, planets, and the moon. At Chichen Itza, the famous El Caracol spirals upward toward windows, angled to catch celestial events. You imagine quiet figures climbing its stairs, torches flickering like little stars on Earth. Each step upward was also a step deeper into the language of the sky. You chuckle again. If you had to climb a spiral staircase in the dark, you might simply call it leg day and stop halfway. The mysteries grow deeper with the Great Pyramids. Some align with solstices, moments when the sun pauses in its journey. Others with equinoxes, when day and night hold perfect balance. Still others trace the cycle of Venus, a planet of extraordinary significance to the Maya. Even today, scholars puzzle over such accuracy. Was it simply the fruit of patient observation? Or did they possess knowledge now lost? The stones do not answer. Yet their silence feels oddly comforting, as though the mystery itself is an invitation, not to solve, but to rest within. Like that math problem you never quite figured out in school, but somehow still passed. Perhaps the stars whispered to them. Imagine lying on cool stone, watching Venus rise precisely when expected. In a world filled with uncertainty storms, harvests, conflict, such predictability would have brought immense reassurance. The stars became a promise, something steady, something you could trust. You laugh softly, because in our world, even the Wi-Fi can't be trusted half the time. The night deepens, and time itself seems to soften. The air moves slower, the ground steadies, the sky stretches wider. You wonder how many thousands of people, over thousands of years, stood where you now stand, gazing at these same constellations. Each carried questions and hopes. Each sought comfort in the rhythm of the sky. The stars became mirrors, not of troubles, but of longing. They offered patterns, and patterns were enough to soothe. Like a lullaby, even when the words are unknown, the rhythm still carries you. Your steps remain slow, your breath even. The silence of the city is not empty, but full of unseen presence, of history, of memory. You feel the weight of that past not as a burden, but as a gentle hand resting on your shoulder. The Maya lived here, weaving their lives into the heavens, finding harmony in the rhythm of the stars. Their astronomical precision still defies full explanation. But tonight, that is not your concern. Tonight you are simply here, beneath the stars, letting the stillness surround you. The first hints of dawn arrive slowly, like careful brushstrokes across the horizon. You stand before the stone temples, their sharp angles now softening under the early light. The world feels suspended between darkness and day, a pause before motion begins again. The air carries a coolness that lingers like a gentle reminder to breathe slowly. Somewhere, a bird begins its tentative call, as if even it is unsure whether to wake fully. You smile at the thought, realizing that some mornings you feel exactly the same way. The pyramids rise before you, massive yet impossibly graceful, their forms catching the first hints of dawn. Golden light traces their edges, turning weathered stone into something fragile and almost luminous. You realize these were not just monuments of ritual, but instruments of time itself. Every tear, every stare, every shifting shadow was a marker, carrying meaning far beyond its physical shape. In the soft stillness of morning, you sense that intention. These stones do not merely stand. They speak, though only to those patient enough to wait for light to reveal their messages. You smirk, wondering if your alarm clock could ever manage such poetry. Among them, one structure stands apart El Caracol at Chichen Itza, nicknamed the Snail for its winding spiral staircase. Unlike other temples, this was an observatory, a place where stone became vision. From here, the Maya traced the moon's path across the heavens with astonishing accuracy. Its curved walls and elevated height turned it into a great stone eye, gazing upward night after night. You imagine figures slowly climbing, their torches flickering against the dawn breeze, their steps heavy with patience and curiosity. You grin to yourself, because honestly, facing those stairs before breakfast would test anyone's devotion. The moon, with its shifting face and steady rhythm, fascinated the Maya. Its phases guided planting, rituals, and the marking of time. El Caracol was positioned and designed so that certain windows and openings framed the moon's journey. Imagine standing inside and watching as, on particular nights, a beam of moonlight cut cleanly through a carved opening, falling across the chamber like a silver line. It happened only on specific days, precise in their rarity. To experience that must have been like hearing a song that plays just once a year, familiar and yet endlessly precious. You chuckle softly, realizing that in comparison, the yearly holiday jingles we hear now are far less magical. Not all windows in El Caracol behaved the same. Some aligned with equinoxes, when day and night shared equal length. Others matched solstices, when the sun lingered longest in summer or shortest in winter. And some aligned only with the moon, as though the builders wanted to hold its shifting path in stone. The result was a building that was less a monument and more a calendar made of walls, openings, and sky. To step inside was to step into an instrument measuring the rhythm of the universe. It is humbling to realize how much knowledge was woven quietly into these stones, a kind of knowledge that required generations of observation, patience, and steady faith in repetition. It makes you think of how impatient we are now if the coffee machine takes more than a minute. The mystery deepens when you consider that not all openings matched regular cycles. Some aligned only on a few rare days each year. On those mornings, the sun or moon appeared exactly in the carved frame, as though slipping into position after months of absence. These events must have been deeply symbolic, perhaps guiding rituals or marking moments when heaven and earth seemed closest. Even today, the purpose of some alignments remains unclear. Scholars debate whether they marked agricultural events, ceremonial timings, or simply expressed the Maya devotion to cosmic order. The uncertainty only adds to the quiet wonder of standing here. You grin at the thought that perhaps the builders also wanted to confuse future historians, which honestly feels like the kind of long-term prank only ancient architects could pull off. As dawn brightens, the temple slowly unveils its details. Stones carefully fitted together form walls that have weathered centuries of storms, shifting earth, and relentless time. The edges, worn yet strong, speak of endurance. When you rest your hand on the cool surface, the rough texture carries a quiet message: patience. The structure seems to hum with the lesson that knowledge arrives not in haste, but in steady rhythm. In a world addicted to speed, the Maya remind us that wisdom may lie in waiting. You laugh softly, thinking of how many times you've rushed through tasks, only to realize that slowing down would have made everything easier. The sun climbs higher, pouring golden light across temple tops. Shadows stretch, then retreat, tracing shifting patterns across the stone steps. To the Maya, these were not mere accidents of light, but messages from the sky. Each lengthening or shortening shadow marked change, perhaps the start of planting season, a sacred festival, or the turning of a calendar cycle. The stones became silent sundials, narrating time in beams and darkness. Every shadow was a sign, every ray of sunlight a dialogue between heaven and earth. Today, some might call it mood lighting, but here it was sacred rhythm. The morning deepens, the air grows warmer, and the temple stands solid under the golden sky. The mystery of their alignments remains unsolved in many ways. How did the Maya, without modern tools, carve openings that match celestial events so precisely? How did they calculate with such accuracy that certain windows aligned with the moon only on rare nights? We may not have all the answers, but perhaps that is the gift of these temples. They remind us that not all mysteries are meant to be solved. Some are meant to be witnessed gently as reminders of the harmony between stone, sky, and time. You take one last look at El Caracol, the snail-shaped eye of stone gazing forever upward. The sun has now risen fully, painting the horizon with warmth. The observatory stands quietly, as it has for centuries, holding within its walls both knowledge and mystery. You turn away slowly, carrying with you not just the image of stone and light, but the sense of patience, rhythm, and wonder that the Maya left behind. The sun has climbed higher now, and the shadows of the temples begin to stretch and shift. They fall across the plazas like soft brushes of moving ink, patterns slowly rearranging themselves with the passage of time. You watch the shadows creep along the stone, imagining how centuries ago people gathered here to read them as carefully as you might read a clock. Every movement was a signal, every angle a reminder that life was synchronized with something larger than itself. You breathe slowly, feeling your own rhythm syncing with the slow turning of the day. It is comforting, like realizing your playlist still loops the same favorite song. The Maya did not only build structures for watching the heavens, they also created rituals to mirror celestial rhythms. As planets moved across the night sky, communities responded with ceremonies that blended sound, fire, and quiet gestures. These events were not hurried, nor were they filled with loud declarations. They unfolded with the patience of a sunrise, one step, one chant, one offering at a time. To imagine standing among them is to imagine an atmosphere both solemn and peaceful. You think briefly about modern events, and how most of them involve waiting in long lines, which somehow feels far less poetic. One of the planets that fascinated the Maya most was Venus. It was not simply a point of light, but a being with character, purpose, and influence. The Maya tracked its rising and setting with astonishing accuracy, noting how its cycles seemed to echo through human events. Records show that wars, ceremonies, and offerings often aligned with the appearances of Venus. To the Maya, it was not just a planet. It was a rhythm written in the sky. And if you have ever waited for a bus and felt like the entire world was delayed, you might understand the sense of living by someone else's timing. Venus, with its brightness and regularity, became linked to rituals whose details remain partly hidden from us. Some ceremonies are described in fragments on stelae or codices, but the full steps have been lost. Historians still puzzle over how precisely these rites were performed. Perhaps they included music that rose and fell like the shimmering of light. Perhaps dancers moved in circles that mirrored the orbit of the planet. Or perhaps offerings were placed at moments when Venus appeared at dawn or dusk, the thresholds of day and night. You consider this, smiling at the idea that ancient rituals may have been the original sunrise yoga sessions, though likely without the stretchy leggings. The shadows on the ground move with a rhythm that feels almost deliberate, as though they are partners in an ancient dance. For the Maya, these shifting patterns were far more than natural coincidence. They were messages from the cosmos itself. Light and shadow spoke a language that told when to plant, when to celebrate, and when to honor the gods. A temple's shadow aligning with a carved marker might signal the start of a grand festival, the offering of food or incense, or the rising of music across the plazas. Entire communities would gather, waiting for the exact moment when one shadow touched one stone, knowing it marked the turn of time. Suddenly, you realize this was their calendar, carved into architecture, making marking the date a sacred act. The ceremonies tied to Venus were especially mysterious because the planet's cycle is complex. It disappears for stretches of time, hidden by the sun's glare, and then reappears, blazing at dawn or dusk. These comings and goings inspired myths of death and rebirth, of journeys between worlds. Rituals may have echoed this theme, honoring transitions, beginnings, and endings. Yet the exact details remain beyond our grasp. The fragments left behind are like half-heard songs, their melodies drifting just out of reach. You nod gently, thinking how sometimes forgetting lyrics has the same effect. You hum what you know and imagine the rest. Other planets also played roles in ritual life. Mars, with its reddish glow, may have been linked to strength or conflict. Jupiter, slow and steady, carried associations of order. Each planet had a rhythm, and each rhythm found its way into ceremony. Fire was lit, incense rose, and chants created vibrations that seemed to echo with the turning of the heavens. These were not spectacles designed to impress, but conversations with the universe. To participate was to step into harmony with cycles greater than one's own. You find it soothing to imagine, like being part of a choir where no voice is louder than another, and even your off-key moments somehow fit. The plazas where rituals unfolded were designed to hold not only people, but also sound and silence. The stones reflected chants, carried drums, and allowed voices to drift into the night air. Some researchers suggest that acoustics were carefully considered, that a single drumbeat could travel across a wide plaza. In this way, even those at the edges could feel part of the ceremony. You think of how modern microphones often squeal at the worst moment, and you can't help but admire the Maya for figuring out acoustics without electronics. The shadows lengthen further, and you imagine them as participants in their own silent ritual. They move across carvings, touch stairways, and glide over plazas. Each shadow seems to bow, then retreat, only to bow again later. The Maya may have seen this as part of their ceremonies, the sky itself taking part in the offerings. It is a gentle reminder that ritual is not only about human action, but also about paying attention to what the world is already doing. You take a deep breath, realizing that even the quiet ticking of a clock beside your bed is its own kind of ritual. As the imagined chants fade, you are left with the echo of simplicity. The Maya created ceremonies that tied people to planets, shadows to songs, and time to meaning. Though the details of these Venus rituals remain uncertain, their presence is undeniable. They remind us that life has always been lived in rhythm, but meaning can be found in aligning with something greater than ourselves. You smile softly, because even if your daily rituals now involve nothing more than brushing teeth and checking emails, they too are part of a rhythm, humble and human. The day has stretched further now, and the sun lingers high above the horizon. Its light pours across the temples and plazas, and the stones appear to glow with a quiet patience. The Maya understood this patience well. They lived not only by the rising and setting of the sun, but by patterns far more intricate. To them, time was not a line but a circle, endlessly repeating, yet filled with meaning at every turn. Among the Maya's most remarkable achievements were their calendars, the Hab and the Tzolk'in. These were not just ways to count days, but living frameworks shaping how people planted, celebrated, and even defined themselves. Think of your modern calendar, full of birthdays, meetings, and reminders. Now imagine one that linked every moment to the rhythms of the cosmos. The Shibahu was the solar calendar, built of 18 months of 20 days each, plus a brief 5-day period seen as unstable or unlucky. Altogether, it formed a 365-day cycle, astonishingly accurate to Earth's orbit. Picture standing in a plaza as priests announce the start of a new month, farmers preparing their fields in rhythm with the sun, families planning rituals and feasts. The Hab was practical, yes, but also deeply sacred, something like a weather app that doubled as a cosmic guide. The Tzolk'in, on the other hand, was more mysterious. It consisted of 260 days, made by combining 20-day names with numbers from 1 to 13. This calendar had no obvious connection to solar or lunar cycles, and yet it structured much of Maya ritual life. Each day carried its own character, its own significance. A child born on a particular day would inherit the qualities of that time, shaping destiny and identity. It was not simply a schedule, but a map of meaning. You may smile at the thought of horoscope columns in newspapers, and realize that humans everywhere have sought ways to link personal fate with cosmic rhythm. Together, the Hab and the Tzolk'in formed what is called the calendar round, a cycle of 18,980 days, about 52 years, before the same combination of days repeated. For the Maya, this span carried deep weight. A person might see only one full calendar round in their lifetime. Ceremonies marked its completion, emphasizing continuity and renewal. Imagine waiting 52 years for the calendar to return to its beginning. It gives a whole new sense of patience compared to how quickly we refresh our emails. And yet the Maya went further. They developed the long count, a system that extended time into vast spans, counting not just years, but centuries and millennia. Carved into monuments, These dates placed human events within cosmic history. A single stela might record not only the reign of a king, but also its alignment with cycles reaching thousands of years into the past. To stand before such inscriptions was to be reminded that your life was a small part of something immeasurably grand. It is humbling, the way looking at the night sky humbles us still. What remains a mystery, even today, is how the Maya achieved such precision. Their calendars aligned remarkably with the solar year and planetary cycles. Yet they had no telescopes, no modern instruments, no written manuals of method. Historians still debate the exact methods Maya used for precise astronomical calculations. Some believe they relied on centuries of careful observation, each generation passing down knowledge with extraordinary discipline. Others suggest they developed complex mathematical tools that we have only partly uncovered. The truth lies somewhere in between, half visible like a planet at dawn, brilliant, but difficult to fully grasp. You might imagine a Maya priest standing on the steps of a temple, watching the horizon night after night, recording the sun's position with the patience of a lifetime. Over decades, patterns emerge. Over centuries, accuracy is refined. And slowly, the cosmos reveals its rhythm. In our world of digital clocks and satellites, such dedication seems unimaginable. Yet their achievements remind us of the power of patience and attention, qualities that even now can feel rare. Calendars were not only scientific, they were deeply spiritual. A day was not just a date, but a living entity, infused with personality. Choosing when to plant corn or when to conduct a ritual was not simply about efficiency, but about harmony. To live in sync with the calendars was to live in balance with the universe. Perhaps this is why the Maya carved dates into stone, not just to preserve records, but to anchor human life within cosmic order. The plazas themselves were places where calendars came alive. Shadows falling across staircases marked solstices and equinoxes. Alignments between temples and stars confirmed what the calendar already measured. Time was not abstract, but visible, tangible, almost touchable. You might run your hand across the carved numbers of a stela and feel that you are tracing the very fabric of time. As the afternoon sun warms the stone, you reflect on how the Maya saw no separation between time and life. Every ritual, every planting, every birth was part of a cosmic cycle. Even today, we mark anniversaries, celebrate New Year's, and find meaning in the repetition of seasons. Perhaps we are not so different, though our reminders come from notifications instead of carved glyphs. The mystery of their precision lingers, like a riddle whispered by history. We may never fully know how they calculated with such accuracy, yet in that uncertainty lies beauty. The Maya remind us that time is not only measured, but also lived, felt, and celebrated. Their calendars etched in stone are not just relics of the past. They are invitations to consider our rhythms, to notice the cycles that shape our days, and to honor the passage of time, not with haste, but with reverence. And so, as the light begins to soften, you sit with the awareness that every moment belongs to a pattern larger than itself. The Maya knew this. They carved it, lived it, and offered it back to the universe. Time, for them, was not something to chase, but something to inhabit. Perhaps that is the quiet lesson the stones still offer, that we too are part of the calendar, a fleeting but essential mark in the great circle of days. The day drifts toward evening now, and shadows stretch long across the plazas. The air grows cooler, and you sense the slow, steady transition from light to dark. For the Maya, this gentle change was never taken for granted. The sun and the moon were not simply objects in the sky, but companions in life, their cycles shaping both time and meaning. You watch as the golden light softens, sliding across temple walls with a kind of affectionate touch. The sun has always been generous, offering warmth, guiding crops, and giving rhythm to the hours. The Maya followed its path with careful attention, noting how it rose and set differently throughout the year. Each position told them not only the day's length, but also when to plant maize, when to hold festivals, and when to honor their gods. Imagine your own calendar being written not in ink, but in beams of sunlight, precise and beautiful. The moon, too, carried its gentle influence. Its phases unfolded like a poem, waxing and waning with dependable grace. Farmers planned by its light, travelers used it to guide their steps, and priests observed it as a signal for ceremonies. The Maya linked human life with lunar cycles, seeing in the moon's changes a reflection of their own rhythms: birth, growth, decline, renewal. Even today, you may find comfort in looking up at a quiet crescent in the night, feeling a shared connection to those who stood here 1,000 years ago. In many Maya records, the sun and moon were not just astronomical markers, but living beings. Stories described them as siblings or partners, weaving through the sky in eternal balance. Their motions were thought to embody harmony itself. Every sunrise and every moonrise was both an event in nature and a reminder of cosmic companionship. There is something tender in imagining the sun and moon as family, forever dancing but never losing step. Priests and astronomers devoted immense care to observing these celestial motions. They tracked the sun's path at solstices and equinoxes, noting the moments when light aligned perfectly with temple staircases. They watched the moon through its 29-day cycle, marking full moons, new moons, and everything in between. Their records show astonishing accuracy. Some inscriptions suggest that they could even predict eclipses, moments when sun and moon crossed paths dramatically. How they did this remains uncertain, yet the evidence implies they understood far more than we might assume. The idea of predicting eclipses adds a quiet layer of wonder. Imagine a priest, centuries ago, standing before a crowd and calmly explaining that the sun would darken at midday. As the sky shifted, people would gasp in awe, yet the priest would remain serene, guided by knowledge that seemed almost magical. Such foresight gave structure to faith, turning the frightening into the expected, the chaotic into the harmonious. The mystery, of course, lies in their method. Some scholars believe the Maya relied on long-term observations, keeping records for generations until patterns became clear. Others think they may have developed sophisticated mathematical cycles. Whatever the explanation, it is clear that they wove patience and curiosity together with extraordinary success. In a way, their approach feels like slow breathing, steady, calm, and deeply attentive. You imagine the night unfolding in a Maya village. Families gather around fires, the moon casting silver light across the rooftops. Someone glances upward, noting the phase of the moon, perhaps making a small remark about planting or a ceremony soon to come. The stars shimmer in the background, but the moon is the anchor, its rhythm felt by all. In this moment, astronomy is not confined to observatories. It lives in every household. There is a soothing quality in thinking of time as guided by such steady companions. The sun's daily rise, the moon's monthly cycle together, they created a balance that supported life. For the Maya, following these rhythms was not an academic exercise, but a way to stay aligned with the universe. Perhaps you feel the same comfort in knowing that tomorrow the sun will rise again, and that the moon, in her quiet phases, will continue her dance. Occasionally, records suggest the Maya saw the sun and moon not in opposition but in conversation. The sun's strength balanced by the moon's gentleness, the bright day softened by the quiet night. Life itself was modeled on this balance. Harmony was not about choosing one over the other, but about allowing both to exist, each with its place. It is a perspective that still feels relevant, like remembering to work during the day and rest at night. Even balance can be a kind of humor. The sun might have been seen as overeager, while the moon offered a calming counterpoint. Their ability to observe and record with precision demonstrates a remarkable focus. Think of how easily we are distracted today, glancing at screens every few minutes. The Maya, instead, devoted entire lifetimes to watching the same horizon, patient and unwavering. Their reward was knowledge that linked heaven and earth. You might say they invented one of the most elegant screen time habits in history, staring upward at the sky endlessly. As evening deepens, you picture the sun slipping fully beneath the horizon, leaving the sky to the moon. The transition is smooth, unhurried, like a breath exhaled. The Maya experienced this shift not with anxiety, but with reverence. It was a reminder that life, too, has rhythms we can trust. No matter how uncertain the day, the sun and moon will continue their motion, steady and reliable. The night grows cooler, and the silence around the temples deepens. The stars emerge more clearly, yet your attention rests on the luminous arc of the moon. Its gentle motion across the sky is as calming now as it was for those who came before. You feel the passage of time not as pressure, but as a lullaby carried by the eternal dance of sun and moon. And so, you allow yourself to breathe in that rhythm, slow and even. The Maya once stood in this same quiet, watching the same companions move across the heavens. Their knowledge remains part mystery, part marvel, but its essence is simple. The sun and the moon, patient and faithful, remind us that time can be a source of calm, not of haste. Their gentle motion is still with us, carrying us softly into the night. The night deepens, and with it comes a softer awareness of the world around the temples. You step beyond the stone plazas and notice how nature itself seems woven into the same rhythms the Maya studied in the skies. Gardens spread gently at the edges of the sacred sites, where maize, beans, and squash once grew in carefully tended rows. These were not random plantings, but timed with the cycles of the sun, each sprout and harvest aligned with celestial cues. The landscape feels alive, almost as if the plants are listening to the same cosmic music. You picture farmers rising with the dawn, guided by both practical knowledge and quiet reverence. They knew that maize, their staple crop, responded not only to soil and rain, but to the careful timing of planting days. The sun's arc across the horizon marked those days with precision. The Hab calendar guided their seasons, but farmers also looked upward, watching for signals in the sky. You imagine planting a garden today by checking the position of Orion instead of a weather app, though admittedly, the app would not look nearly as poetic. The air in these gardens was fragrant, carrying both the earthy smell of soil and the faint sweetness of flowers that bloomed under the night sky. Some plants were chosen not for food, but for ritual, their blossoms offered during ceremonies. Historians suggest that a few species may have been planted in alignment with constellations, flowering only when certain stars appeared overhead. Such timing hints at a quiet mystery. Did the Maya believe the stars themselves awakened the flowers, or had generations of careful observation revealed a hidden pattern? Either way, it shows how seamlessly they connected heaven and earth. You pause and imagine walking along narrow paths between rows of plants. The moonlight falls across broad green leaves, and you hear the soft hum of insects moving through the air. The rhythm of the night feels unhurried. The Maya treated these gardens not only as fields of sustenance, but as reflections of cosmic order. A garden was not merely food, it was time itself made visible, each leaf and stalk marking a moment in the great calendar of the world. The mystery of star-linked blossoms lingers. Some accounts mention flowers that only opened when Venus rose in the east, a kind of floral alarm clock tuned to the heavens. It is difficult to confirm these accounts fully, but the possibility adds a layer of beauty. Imagine a flower refusing to bloom until its favorite planet appeared, a diva of the botanical world. This idea makes the garden feel even more alive, each plant participating in the drama of the sky. At night, the gardens became sanctuaries of calm. Priests might have wandered the paths after long hours of skywatching, their thoughts crowded with celestial calculations, yet softened by the fragrance of blossoms and the hush of rustling leaves. Farmers, too, could have paused from their toil, leaning back to gaze upward, finding the same promise in stars that they found in the soil. In both heaven and earth lay nourishment, balance, and continuity. The image is soothing lives shaped by labor and uncertainty, yet comforted by the steady bond between ground and sky, where rhythm itself offered quiet assurance. The soil itself played a role in the rhythm. Rich black earth nurtured maize, while lighter soils were used for beans and squash. The Maya rotated crops carefully, always in tune with seasons. Archaeological evidence shows that they developed advanced agricultural methods, including raised fields and irrigation. Yet beyond the science of farming was a spiritual sense. Planting was an offering, harvesting was a blessing, and both were connected to celestial timing. In their worldview, every seed carried a trace of the stars. As you linger in this imagined garden, you notice how the silence is never truly silent. Leaves rustle softly in the breeze, insects chirp with steady rhythm, and somewhere a bird calls faintly in the dark. The Maya listened to these sounds as part of the night's texture. Their calendars measured days and years, but the gardens offered a different kind of time, a moment-to-moment awareness of growth, scent, and sound. This is the kind of time you can almost feel slowing your own breath. Occasionally, rituals took place among the plants. Offerings were left at the base of trees, and torches lit the paths between rows. In these moments, gardens became sanctuaries where the earthly and the celestial met. The flickering firelight mixed with moonlight, creating an atmosphere both practical and sacred. Farmers joked that the gods probably liked a good meal too, and the offerings ensured they were never left out of the feast. You might smile at the idea, yet it carries truth. Even in sacred spaces, humor had its place. For the Maya, reverence did not mean the absence of laughter. Their gardens were more than fields of labor. They were spaces of devotion, reflection, and delight. Joy itself became a kind of offering, woven into daily life as naturally as planting or prayer. In laughing, working, and celebrating, they honored the cycles they so carefully followed, living in harmony with the balance of earth and sky. As you pause in reflection, it becomes clear how closely the Maya bound survival to the cosmos. For them, farming was never separate from the sky. It was directed by it. The sun and stars acted as calendars, guiding when to plant and harvest. The moon, with its shifting phases, offered reminders of cycles unfolding. The earth itself answered to these rhythms, yielding crops in harmony with celestial order. What might look to you like ordinary fields of maize or beans were, for the Maya, sacred proof that heaven and earth were not divided but joined in one living dialogue. As the night continues, the gardens rest quietly, leaves folding slightly in the cool air. Above, constellations drift in their patient arcs. It is easy to imagine lying back among the rows, breathing in the mingled scents of herbs and blossoms, and letting your thoughts move as slowly as the stars themselves. The Maya found nourishment here, not only for the body, but also for the spirit. In their gardens under the stars, life was both sustained and sanctified, each cycle echoing the greater rhythms of the universe. You step gently away from the gardens, leaving behind the faint fragrance of blossoms in the night air. Ahead lies another layer of Maya life, not planted in soil, but etched directly into stone. Across these ancient cities stretched the Sakbib, the white roads. Coated in pale plaster, they once shimmered under sunlight and glowed softly in the moonlight, guiding travelers through the heart of Maya civilization. These pathways were more than simple connections. They linked plazas, temples, and observatories with a sense of design that carried both movement and meaning. Though quiet now, they once resounded with the steady rhythm of priests in procession, merchants carrying goods, children chasing one another, and families making their way home. Walking upon them today, you feel more than direction, you feel purpose. Each road was a thread in a greater tapestry, binding community, ceremony, and cosmos into one flowing journey. The Maya did not lay these roads casually. Many led directly to observatories, like El Caracol at Chichen Itza, or others hidden deeper in the jungle. Archaeological studies reveal that some roads align with celestial markers. When you stand in certain places at dawn, the pathway and the horizon frame the rising of specific stars. It is as though the roads themselves pointed the way to heaven, not just to neighboring temples. The most intriguing case is when alignments appear with Orion, the constellation that has fascinated cultures across the world. Imagine walking a road that, at night, stretches in perfect line with Orion's belt, each stone echoing the stars above. The purpose of this alignment remains uncertain. Perhaps it was symbolic, weaving myth and astronomy into the very fabric of the city. Perhaps it was practical, helping to guide rituals or agricultural cycles. Or perhaps it was both, because the Maya rarely separated science from spirit. Their roads, like their calendars, were maps not only of geography, but of meaning. As you walk them in thought, you feel their design is deliberate, each curve and straight line chosen to embody connection. By day, these roads bustled with movement. Traders carried cacao beans, obsidian blades, and woven cloth along their lengths. Families strolled to markets, children laughing as they balanced small baskets. At festival times, processions moved along them in solemn rhythm, torches flickering, drums sounding. By night, the roads became quieter, but no less alive. Torches lit the way for priests heading to observatories. Couples may have walked beneath the stars, their path beneath Orion reflecting the constellation above. It is easy to imagine someone joking, "If we get lost, just follow the stars," and meaning it quite literally. The texture of the road beneath your feet is smooth in places and uneven in others. Centuries of weather have worn away the plaster, leaving behind stones that speak of age. Yet even in their worn state, the roads retain presence. They feel like veins of memory, still carrying echoes of ancient footsteps. Archaeologists describe how some of these sackbeams stretched for miles, linking distant settlements. To walk them was not only to travel space, but to connect communities, creating bonds across the land. The mystery of Orion's alignment invites gentle curiosity. Why Orion among so many constellations? Was it chosen because its belt provided a clear and unmistakable line in the sky? Or did its mythological associations hold deeper meaning for the Maya? Other cultures saw hunters, warriors, or gods in Orion. Perhaps the Maya saw something equally powerful, something worth carving into their cities in stone. The mystery remains, reminding us that not every answer is meant to be uncovered quickly. Sometimes questions themselves are part of the rhythm of life. As you continue along the imagined pathway, the jungle presses close, but the road remains clear. Moonlight catches on pale stones, making them glow faintly. The effect is soothing, like walking along a ribbon of light laid gently across the earth. In such moments, the distinction between road and star fades. You walk on the ground, but you might as well be stepping through the night sky itself. It is a meditative image, one that slows your breath and quiets your thoughts. At certain crossroads, the Maya built small altars or markers. Travelers could pause, offer a few kernels of maize, and continue their way. These pauses remind you that journeys are not just about destinations, but about the act of moving itself. A road was more than stone. It was an invitation to walk with awareness. Even now, as you picture yourself there, you can almost feel the deliberate pace, each step echoing with centuries of memory. Sometimes the roads rise slightly above the jungle floor, raised to avoid flooding. At other times, they sink into the earth, bordered by walls that guided the traveler's view. In some places, the walls frame the sky so precisely that the first star of evening appears exactly in the center. These architectural choices hint at a deeper artistry. The road was not only a path. It was a frame for the cosmos, a way to guide not just the body, but the eyes and spirit. There is a quiet peace in this thought. You picture yourself moving slowly along the path, cool stones grounding each step, the air carrying the faint scent of damp leaves. Around you, the jungle seems hushed, as though even its creatures honor the calm rhythm of the road. Overhead, the sky unfolds with familiar brilliance. Orion stands tall, just as it did for the Maya, its stars unchanging across the centuries. Their steady light feels like a bridge, linking your moment to theirs, reminding you that while civilizations rise and fall, the constellations remain, patient guides across endless time. At the end of the pathway rises an observatory, its windows shaped to frame the heavens. The road has guided you not just through distance, but into a quiet bond with the stars. This is the heart of the Maya world. Stone paths on earth leading to luminous paths in the sky, both threads of the same vast fabric of time. Stepping off the final stones, you feel the gentle truth that every journey, whether long or small, belongs to a greater alignment, where footsteps and starlight move together in harmony, whispering that meaning is always found in the rhythm of connection. You step into a chamber where the air feels heavy with silence, as though it has been waiting for you through the centuries. Around you rise the painted walls of Bonampak, their colors still clinging to stone despite rain, jungle, and time. The murals unfold across the surfaces like windows opened into another age, a place where ritual, art, and sky moved as one. Figures stand in procession, gestures frozen in strokes of ochre, blue, and green, carrying messages that words alone could never hold. Though faded, they remain luminous, their power undiminished, as if the very act of looking allows them to breathe again. These paintings do not merely decorate stone. They speak. They invite you to pause, to listen to stories told in form and hue, where every detail whispers of a world that understood beauty and meaning as inseparable companions. Here, silence is not emptiness, but reverence. The murals of Bonampak are among the most vivid records left by the Maya. Discovered in the mid-20th century, they revealed scenes of processions, music, battles, and ceremonies. Yet within the vivid human figures lies another layer, the stars themselves, depicted as patterns and symbols hovering above or woven into the ritual scenes. Here, the heavens and human life are not separate. The same brush that traced the face of a noble also traced the arc of a constellation. By torchlight, the murals must have glowed with a surreal intensity. Shades of blue, red, yellow, and black swirled together, creating a cosmic stage for human action. These pigments, remarkably, have endured for over 1,000 years. Archaeologists still marvel at the chemical stability of Maya blue, a pigment that resists fading. To the eye, it is more than color. It is sky brought down to stone. One wonders if the Maya believed these colors carried spiritual power, binding earth to cosmos. But for all their beauty, the murals still hold mysteries. Some symbols remain undeciphered circles, spirals, dots, and lines whose meaning slips through our grasp. Were they markers of stars? Phases of the moon? Sacred numerals? Each interpretation remains tentative. Standing before them, you sense how the murals whisper more than they explain, inviting wonder rather than conclusion. The scene most often described is a grand ceremony. Musicians playing conch shells and drums, nobles clothed in feathered garments, captives kneeling in submission. Overhead, star shapes hover, not randomly, but in deliberate arrangement. Some scholars suggest these star clusters mirror actual constellations visible at the time. Others argue they are mythic stars tied to gods and cycles of ritual. The truth may lie somewhere in between, a tapestry of observation and story. There is a quiet poetry in such ambiguity. To picture a Maya artist dipping a brush into deep blue, then lifting it to trace a star upon plaster, is to witness devotion expressed through art. Each stroke was more than ornament. It was a record of the heavens, a prayer set into color. In this way, the murals transcend decoration. They become bridges, pathways where human hands reached for the eternal, where fleeting lives touched the rhythm of the cosmos. Standing before them, you sense not just beauty, but the desire to weave earth and sky into one. As you stand in this chamber in imagination, time slows. The painted figures seem to stir. A musician lifts a conch to his lips, though no sound comes. A dancer's feathers tremble in stillness. Above them, a painted star glows faintly in the dim light. The effect is deeply calming. You realize that you are not simply looking at paintings. You are witnessing a rhythm, a memory still alive in pigment. The mystery of the colors adds to this calm wonder. Maya blue, for instance, remains partially unexplained in its resilience. Scientists have recreated it, but debate lingers over the exact ritual processes used. Was the making of pigment itself a sacred act? Did priests mix earth and plant, fire and water, under specific celestial conditions? If so, then each stroke of blue carries not just art, but ritual in its very material. The murals also suggest that time itself was painted. Scenes appear sequential, as though capturing a flow of ritual across hours or days. Yet among them, timeless symbols float: the sun, the moon, the stars. It is as if the Maya sought to weave linear human time into the eternal cycles of the cosmos. The wall becomes a calendar, a map, and a prayer all at once. In the psychology of viewing, murals like these create immersion. You are surrounded on all sides, drawn into the painted world. The effect is gentle but complete, like stepping into a dream woven of color. Even today, visitors often fall silent inside Bonampak, their voices hushed by awe. It is not only history they encounter, but also atmosphere, the sense of being in the presence of something sacred. And still, questions linger. What precise rituals once unfolded within these painted walls? Why were certain symbols chosen over others? How much of the star imagery reflected actual astronomy, and how much belonged to myth? Scholars continue to study and debate, yet no answer fully resolves the mural's layered meaning. Perhaps that uncertainty is itself their gift. To stand before mystery is already to honor it. As you imagine leaving the chamber, one final image stays with you. Walls glowing in twilight, stars brushed across stone as new stars awaken above. The parallel soothes the mind. What was painted 1,000 years ago still mirrors the heavens tonight, reminding us that both starlight and human imagination reach toward eternity. In this quiet harmony of art and sky, the Maya vision reveals itself. Life was never apart from the cosmos, but inseparably woven into it. Every color, gesture, and story flowed in rhythm with the heavens, each brushstroke echoing celestial order. The murals of Bonampak are not simple decorations. They are living rituals, capturing movement, devotion, and the pulse of time itself. Standing before them, you feel that their purpose has not faded, for they still radiate a quiet strength that speaks across centuries. And when you step back into the night of imagination, you carry more than images. You carry the truth that stories, whether painted or spoken, are enduring bridges between earth and stars, binding us gently to the cosmic rhythm. Night has fallen across the ancient plazas. The jungle hums quietly in the distance, and stone temples rest like sleeping giants beneath the canopy of stars. Yet at the heart of the square, a flicker begins. A torch is lit, its flame bending gently in the evening breeze. Soon others follow: candles, braziers, bonfires, until a constellation of earthly light answers the celestial expanse above. The Maya understood fire as more than a source of warmth or cooking. It was a medium of connection. Flames carried prayers upward, bridging human voices with the gods who lived among the stars. In many ceremonies, fire was not only present but central, its glow turning cold stone into living theater. Within the soft radiance, worshippers gathered, their faces illuminated by orange light, their eyes lifted toward the heavens. Historical accounts and archaeological evidence reveal that fire played A role in astronomical rituals. Priests lit torches and positioned them carefully, creating patterns that echoed the sky. At observatories, including those at Uaxacton and Chichen Itza, evidence suggests that fire ceremonies coincided with lunar phases or equinox alignments. Flames, when placed along architectural axes, became earthly mirrors of celestial cycles. The soft glow of evening thus carried both symbolic and scientific meaning. What fascinates researchers most are accounts of fires timed to star rhythms. Ancient inscriptions hint that certain flames were lit in harmony with the appearance of Venus or the movements of constellations. Yet the underlying method remains a mystery. Did priests observe subtle star risings invisible to the untrained eye? Did they use water bowls or polished stone as reflective instruments to mark exact moments? The answers elude us. What remains is the sense that fire and stars beat together in a rhythm we no longer fully hear. Imagine the scene. A dark courtyard, silent except for the crackle of fire. Priests move slowly, their garments flowing, shadows dancing across carved walls. Each flame is placed with intention, creating an earthly sky mapped upon stone floors. Above, the heavens respond with brilliance. The ritual feels like choreography. Fire mirroring starlight, starlight reflecting in human eyes. In that glow, participants would have felt themselves woven into the great fabric of cosmos. Psychologically, fire induces calm focus. Modern research shows how the steady flicker slows heart rates, inviting meditative states. For the Maya, this effect may have deepened ritual immersion, quieting the everyday mind so that cosmic patterns could be contemplated. The hypnotic rhythm of flames became a doorway into silence, a silence where stars could be heard. Candlelight ceremonies survive in many cultures, a resonance of this ancient practice. The Maya, however, took the symbolism further. Flames marked time. Some fires burned only for specific intervals, extinguished at the rise of certain stars. Others were relit with sacred embers preserved from earlier ceremonies, continuity linking present with past. To light a flame was to stitch human life into cycles far greater than individual existence. The architecture itself magnified the glow. Temples with narrow doorways funneled torchlight outward, projecting luminous columns into the night. Courtyards enclosed fires, making them appear brighter against darkened walls. From a distance, travelers might have seen cities glitter as though stars had descended onto the earth. Fire was not only sacred, it was spectacle, a way of uniting community under a shared vision of sky and stone. And yet, despite its brilliance, fire remains fleeting. Flames consume, transform, and vanish. Perhaps this ephemerality was part of its meaning. A star appears, then sets. A flame rises, then falls to ash. Both remind us that cycles of light and darkness define existence. In honoring fire, the Maya were honoring impermanence, the fragile balance between presence and absence. Consider also the sensory depth of such nights. The scent of burning copal resin, thick and sweet in the air. A warmth on skin against cool night breezes. The soft murmur of prayers blending with the crackle of wood. Every element heightened awareness. Ritual fire was not just seen but felt, smelled, heard. It engaged the body fully, rooting human presence within the cosmic drama. The enigma of star-timed fire continues to intrigue scholars. Some argue it reflects advanced observational astronomy, evidence that Maya priests could predict celestial events with astonishing precision. Others suggest it was symbolic, flames synchronized less to actual stars than to mythic cycles encoded in stories and calendars. Both possibilities carry truth. Ritual often exists in the space where observation and imagination overlap. As you let the scene unfold in your mind, the stillness is almost tangible. Fires burn with steady patience, their light stretching into long shadows that sway as if dancing to an ancient rhythm. Above, Orion rises with clarity, its belt of stars sharp against the darkness. A priest steps forward, extinguishing one flame and kindling another, a ritual movement that to outsiders might seem mysterious. Yet to those gathered, it speaks with unmistakable meaning. The fire listens to the stars. Within this glow, a profound peace takes hold. The noise of the world recedes, replaced only by the dialogue of flame and sky. Watching, you sense yourself drawn into the same rhythm. Your breath aligns with the flicker. Your thoughts dissolve into quiet, and for a moment you feel woven into the same harmony that once guided the Maya. The Maya left behind temples of stone, murals rich with color, and calendars of astonishing precision. Yet among these legacies, there is another less tangible, yet no less enduring: the memory of firelight beneath the stars. It is an image of warmth and guidance, a reminder that whether from sun, star, or flame, light has always been humanity's companion in the dark. Close your eyes, and you can almost see it, the soft orange glow spilling across a courtyard, shadows flickering against ancient walls, the night sky above shimmering with endless stars. Between earth and heaven, silence settles, broken only by the crackle of fire. The flame does not reveal the full mysteries of the cosmos, but it allows you to feel them. In its quiet rhythm, steady and tender, burns a memory that still lingers, eternal as starlight. The night sky is never truly still. Even when it appears calm, each star and planet glides on a quiet journey. The Maya observed these movements with remarkable patience, noting subtle patterns across years, even generations. What might seem random to casual eyes became to them a symphony, a rhythm that whispered of order beneath the heavens. Venus, shining as the morning star, captured their particular attention. It rises and sets with a brightness that demands notice, and its cycle repeats with a regularity that fascinated ancient observers. The Maya tracked this rhythm carefully, embedding it into codices and rituals. In the Dresden Codex, records of Venus span across pages, charting its appearances like musical notes placed carefully on a staff. To the Maya, Venus was not just a planet. It was a timekeeper, a signal of change, and sometimes a herald of events on Earth. Jupiter, the great planet, also drew their gaze. Though slower in its course, its movements were equally important. Priests noted its retrograde loops, the way it seemed to pause before reversing direction. These patterns were woven into calendars, not simply as curiosities, but as guides. To follow Jupiter was to understand the pacing of grander cycles, rhythms that stretched far beyond a human lifespan. In observing these two planets, Venus, quick and bright, Jupiter slow and steady, the Maya heard contrasting beats, like two instruments in cosmic harmony. What makes this more intriguing is their belief that these celestial rhythms influenced earthly life. Inscriptions suggest that weather, harvests, even political decisions might align with the timing of Venus or Jupiter. Some glyphs appear to link planetary phases with rains or droughts. Modern scholars still puzzle over how such predictions were made. Did they notice long-term correlations that we now overlook? Or did myth and observation blend so seamlessly that cause and effect became a shared language of faith and science? The mystery deepens with the suggestion that the Maya could forecast weather through stars. How exactly this worked remains unclear. Some theorize that they associated the brightness of Venus with seasonal rains, while others believe they detected subtler atmospheric shifts reflected in starlight. The truth may lie somewhere in between keen observation of natural signs combined with ritual interpretation. What remains certain is that their attention to rhythm allowed them to feel connected, not just to the cosmos above, but to the living cycles of Earth itself. Imagine a warm evening on the temple steps. The air is still, except for insects singing their nightly chorus. Above you, Venus gleams sharply in the twilight, while Jupiter hovers further along the horizon. A priest raises his eyes, noting the positions, marking a date in his mind. Others gather quietly, perhaps with torches or folded manuscripts, waiting to hear what the sky will say. There is no rush. The planets move on their own time, and humans must adjust their pace accordingly. The effect of these observations was soothing, even meditative. To follow a planet night after night required stillness, attention, and patience. Each appearance reinforced the sense of order, of rhythm beneath the chaos of daily life. For the Maya, these cosmic murmurs were not abstractions. They were part of a lived experience, reminders that every cycle birth, growth, decline, renewal was mirrored above in shining lights. Some scholars suggest that Venus in particular held both practical and symbolic roles. Farmers may have planted certain crops by its cycle, while warriors and rulers timed actions to its rising. Yet beyond the practical, Venus became a symbol of renewal, its reappearance after absence, a promise that light always returns. Jupiter, meanwhile, offered steadiness, its measured pace a reassurance that even the largest cycles carry a reliable order. Together, the two planets whispered a lesson. Life moves at many speeds, and each has value. In the calm glow of night fires, one can imagine priests reciting these lessons. Children may have listened as elders explained how Venus dances quickly, like a spark, while Jupiter moves with the patience of a mountain. The comparison brings humor too. Perhaps someone remarked that Jupiter was like that one neighbor who takes forever just to walk across the courtyard. Even in solemn ritual, small jokes surely drifted in, lightening the atmosphere while the stars looked on. Patient as always, the Dresden Codex preserves much of this celestial knowledge. Its pages, though worn, still carry lines and symbols, marking the cycles of Venus and Jupiter. Reading them today feels like overhearing a whisper from the past, a murmur of rhythms carefully noted by hands long gone. It is remarkable to think that, centuries later, the planets still rise and set just as those scribes recorded, a continuity that makes time itself feel like a circle rather than a line. To sit under such skies is to feel the same invitation. Your breath slows, your thoughts follow gentle arcs, and you begin to notice rhythms in your own life. The way days repeat, the way moods ebb and flow, the way rest and energy return in cycles. The Maya recognized that these patterns were not distractions, but guides, soft reminders of harmony. In aligning with celestial rhythms, they aligned with themselves. The night grows deeper now. Venus hovers like a jewel, Jupiter steady as a guardian. Their movements are slow, imperceptible moment by moment, yet certain across years. You feel their presence as a steady hum, a murmur beneath the silence of stars. Perhaps this is why the Maya turned to them for comfort as much as for knowledge. The planets did not speak loudly. They whispered, quietly but persistently, telling those who listened that order was always there, waiting to be heard. And so you sit among them, allowing the murmurs of the night to settle within. Stars, planets, and rhythms do not press or command. They simply extend a quiet invitation. In answering it, you feel peace unfolding, gentle as firelight in a shadowed squaresoft, steady and warm. The glow lingers not as a demand for action, but as a reminder that harmony waits for those willing to pause and listen. Stone carries patience in ways wood and clay cannot. When you step inside an ancient Maya observatory, you feel this patience carved into every surface. At El Caracol, the round tower rising above Chichen Itza, windows and openings are not placed randomly. They are measured, precise, and deliberate, as if the building itself has chosen where to gaze. The air inside feels cool, sheltered from the blaze of the Yucatan sun. Dust softens the stones, while thin shafts of light slip through narrow openings. Each window frames not the whole sky, but a chosen fragment, as though the world has been trimmed to reveal only what matters. This was the brilliance of Maya design. structures that functioned as instruments of vision. El Caracol, named the Snail for its spiraling staircase, likely served as a place of precise observation. The Maya built not for comfort, but for thought, for measurement, for memory. Here, priests and astronomers once stood in silence, charting the rise and fall of stars and planets. Even its unusual round form departs from traditional pyramids, shaped instead to follow the heavens, its curves mirroring the arcs of celestial bodies above. Some windows within El Caracol remain especially mysterious. They do not open to wide horizons, but instead align with rare, precise events. One frames the path of Venus on only a few days each year. Another captures the light of solstices or equinoxes. Such precision reveals these were never mere decorations, but carefully carved lenses, tools for measuring time itself. Scholars still debate why Venus receives such attention. The effort to achieve this accuracy required immense skill and devotion stone shaped so one planet's cycle could be followed without fail. Was it for guiding rituals, timing crops, or simply affirming cosmic harmony? No clear answer emerges. The windows, patient and silent, continue to gaze skyward, keeping watch even when no eyes remain. Imagine standing inside during twilight. The air is still, the room dim, but a single opening glows faintly as Venus rises in its frame. Outside, the jungle hums with life, yet here within stone walls, all sound seems distant. The effect is calming, almost meditative. You realize that the building itself encouraged stillness. To look through such a window, you must pause, align your body, and wait for the star to appear. In this way, architecture becomes ritual. The act of looking is transformed into a quiet ceremony of patience. The precision of these alignments remains a mystery. Without modern instruments, the Maya achieved what still astonishes astronomers today. Was it trial and error over generations? Was it mathematics embedded in oral traditions? Or did they simply spend so much time watching the sky that patterns revealed themselves naturally, like secrets whispered only to those willing to listen? Perhaps it was all three. There is something poetic in the way the windows shape vision. They remind you that perception is never total. You cannot see everything at once. Instead, you are offered a slice, a portion of the sky framed, so you may notice details that might otherwise vanish in the vastness. In modern life, windows are for light and air. For the Maya, they were for knowledge, each opening a doorway into the rhythm of the cosmos. Even today, if you visit El Caracol, you may feel the pull of these alignments. Tourists wander through, taking photos, but the stones remain unchanged, their quiet patience intact. Stand in the right place, at the right moment, and the sun or a planet still appears exactly where the ancient architects intended. Time has shifted, centuries have passed, but the sky is faithful. The window receives its light, as it always has, as it always will. The mystery deepens when you consider how few days these alignments occur. Why build for such rare events? It is like constructing a clock that chimes only once a year. Yet for the Maya, these rare chimes were the most meaningful. They marked turning points, thresholds in the cycle of time. By framing them, the observatory did more than track stars. It anchored human life to celestial rhythm, ensuring that ceremonies, plantings, and decisions were guided by cosmic order. There is a quiet humor in imagining the builders, carving stone with such effort, just for a sliver of sky. Perhaps one worker joked that he had spent months shaping an opening that only mattered for a single evening. Still, the dedication persisted, and today the result is a monument not only to astronomy, but to patience itself. Spiral staircase within El Caracol adds another layer of symbolism. As you ascend, the narrow steps curve upward, drawing you into tighter focus until you reach the windows above. The climb feels like a metaphor for observation. You begin broad and general, then narrow, refine, and finally arrive at a single, clear view. It is not difficult to imagine priests making this climb at night, carrying torches or oil lamps, their footsteps echoing softly in the round chamber. Looking through these carved windows, you are reminded that knowledge often requires narrowing the field of vision. Too wide, and details scatter. Too narrow, and meaning is lost. The Maya achieved a balance, framing the sky in a way that turned vastness into understanding. Each window was both a limit and a gift. By cutting away what was unnecessary, they revealed what was essential. The stars move on, and so does the night. Yet the murmurs of these carved openings remain. To peer through one today is to share an experience with someone who lived 1,000 years ago. You both look at the same sky, framed in the same way, guided by stone that has not shifted. In that shared gaze, time feels less like a straight line and more like a circle, repeating quietly, patiently, without hurry. And as you step back from the window, the sky remains steady and vast. The building sighs softly, holding its secrets in stone. The windows wait for the next observer, ready to frame once again the quiet motion of planets, the gentle rhythm of the heavens. In the quiet of an ancient chamber, you imagine shelves not of wood but of stone, their surfaces smooth from centuries of hands placing scrolls and folded books. The Maya did not store knowledge in heavy volumes as we do today. Instead, they painted their insights onto long sheets of bark paper, carefully folded like accordions. These were codices, living books of astronomy, ritual, and time, created not just to preserve facts, but to weave the rhythms of the sky into memory. Among them, the Dresden Codex stands out. It is one of the most complete Maya manuscripts still in existence, and when you picture it, you see pages alive with detail. Bright colors paint images of gods, planets, and celestial signs. Black glyphs line up in careful rows, each one a compact expression of thought, a word pressed into symbol. The codex is not large, but its weight is measured in meaning. It is less a book than a star chart folded into bark. As you unfold it in your imagination, the pages stretch across your lap like a woven tapestry. You notice the balance between image and text, as if art and science had decided to share the same canvas. A scene of a rain god pours water from a vessel, while beneath him numbers mark intervals of time. The Maya knew that to understand the heavens was also to understand the weather, and so knowledge flowed between sky and earth. The Dresden Codex includes tables of Venus, a planet of deep significance to the Maya. Page after page records its cycles with astonishing precision. You can almost hear the scratch of the brush as scribes marked the days of its rising and setting. This was not idle curiosity. For the Maya, Venus carried power. Its appearances were tied to agriculture, war, and ritual. To misjudge its cycle might mean planting at the wrong time or entering battle unprepared. The Codex was therefore not just observation, but survival, and yet much of it remains mysterious. Scholars can read some of the glyphs, but others continue to resist understanding. Symbols repeat in patterns that feel like puzzles left behind intentionally. Some illustrations show gods engaged in acts we cannot fully explain. It is as though the book whispers, but never quite finishes its sentence. Perhaps this was deliberate. Knowledge, after all, can be layered. Some truths are meant for all eyes, while others are kept for those who have been initiated into deeper mysteries. As you picture the codex resting open, you realize how fragile it is. Made of fig bark coated with lime, painted with pigments of red, black, and blue, it has survived only because someone cared enough to preserve it. Fire, water, or neglect could have erased it entirely. The thought makes you appreciate the patience of those who protected it, who carried it across oceans, who kept it safe even when its language was forgotten. In that act of preservation, the Codex has become more than a record. It has become a survivor. The room grows still as you imagine sitting among these books, their folded pages stacked neatly. You reach for one, feeling the texture of the paper, uneven yet strong. Opening it, you see not just writing but rhythm. Numbers count off days, cycles, and intervals, creating a pulse across the page. It feels almost like music, the glyphs tapping a quiet beat, steady and calm. Knowledge here is not stored, it is performed, like a song written in silence. The mystery deepens when you notice entire sections still undeciphered. Images of animals, symbols of rain, patterns of dots and bars sit silently, their meanings lost. Scholars study them carefully, yet many interpretations remain guesses. Were they instructions for ritual? Forecasts of weather? Descriptions of events long forgotten? The Codex does not say. Instead, it offers its silence as an invitation. You are reminded that knowledge is never complete, that even ancient books carry mysteries forward into the present. You smile at the thought that somewhere, a scribe may have chuckled to himself as he painted a symbol whose meaning only his community would know. Perhaps he thought, this will puzzle them one day. In a way, he was right. His brushstrokes still speak across centuries, though his jokes remain hidden from us. Even in mystery, there is a thread of humor woven into the fabric of history. The Dresden Codex is not the only surviving manuscript, but it is among the most detailed. Others were lost, earned, or left to decay. When you reflect on this, you realize how much knowledge has slipped through time's fingers. Each lost codex is like a star gone dark, its light no longer guiding us. And yet, the few that remain shine all the brighter. They remind us of how much the Maya knew, how deeply they looked at the sky, and how carefully they recorded its motion. Sitting quietly with this thought, you feel the rhythm of the pages, aligning with the rhythm of your breath. The codex unfolds slowly, its images steady, its glyphs precise. You cannot rush through it, for its language insists on patience. Each symbol deserves attention, each illustration a pause. In this way, reading becomes meditation. You follow the flow of time as the Maya once did, not in haste, but in quiet alignment with the stars. Perhaps the greatest mystery of the Codex is not what it says, but how it feels. Holding it, even in imagination, connects you to a lineage of observers who lifted their eyes to the sky and then lowered them to paper. They transformed light into ink, movement into memory. The Codex is their bridge, carrying observation into preservation, and preservation into wonder. As you close the book in your mind, you sense its weight again, not heavy in your hands, but heavy in meaning. You set it gently back on its imagined stone shelf, where it waits in silence for the next pair of curious eyes. The room around you is still, the air calm. Outside, the stars continue their quiet motion, exactly as the scribes once recorded them, exactly as the Codex still remembers. Night descends softly over the ancient Maya city. The last traces of daylight fade, leaving the temple silhouetted against a velvet sky. High above, the stars reveal themselves, one by one, until the heavens are filled with their quiet constellations. Atop the pyramids, where stone meets air, a different rhythm begins the gentle breath of night. You imagine yourself standing at the very top of one of these temples, the world below hushed, the sky above wide and endless. A breeze brushes across your face, cool and steady, as though the temple itself were exhaling into the night. The Maya chose their heights with intention. From the temple tops, the line of sight to the stars was unobstructed. Here, astronomers, priests, and observers gathered in silence, their eyes lifted to the sky. In the stillness, every flicker of light mattered. Each movement of Venus, each rise of the moon, each arc of the Milky Way was noted with care. Night after night, year after year, the stars were studied from these stone vantage points. Observation was not hurried. It was patient, woven into the rhythm of ritual and time now. As you picture these figures standing quietly, you notice how the air shifts. The breeze is not constant. It arrives gently, disappears, then returns, as though it too were keeping rhythm with the stars. Historical accounts suggest that the Maya often observed at night, recording the heavens in ways that astonish modern scholars. And yet, the mystery deepens when you consider the winds. Some temples seem to attract breezes only during certain seasons. Others remain still while their neighbors whisper with air. The cause is uncertain. Perhaps the alignment of structures, perhaps hidden channels, or perhaps something yet unknown. The mystery remains like the breeze itself felt, but unseen. You stand at the top of the pyramid in your imagination, letting the wind move around you. The stone beneath your feet is cool, its edges worn by centuries of weather. Below, the jungle sleeps, its leaves swaying softly. Above, the constellations shimmer. The breeze seems to carry the scent of earth and leaves, mixed with the faint hint of stone warmed by the day's sun. In this moment, the line between natural world and human creation blurs. The temple is not separate from its surroundings. It is part of the landscape, designed to converse with the wind and stars. The Maya were masters of pattern. They watched the cycles of the sun and moon, the motions of planets, and the intervals of seasons. To them, time was not linear but circular, a constant turning like the breeze that comes and goes. On temple tops, this philosophy became physical. Observers would stand through the night, feeling the air shift while noting the positions of stars. Every gust, every calm pause became part of the experience. The breeze itself seemed to participate in the act of watching, as though nature offered its quiet approval. Imagine a priest, clothed in simple woven fabric, standing at the edge of the temple, torchlight flickering behind him. He raises his eyes to Venus, noting its brilliance against the dark. The air stirs, brushing against his skin. He interprets not only the light in the sky, but also the sensation of the wind. For the Maya, the world was interconnected. Stars influenced crops, winds carried omens, and fire mirrored celestial rhythms. To observe one was to consider the whole. The breeze grows softer now in your imagination, almost like a whisper. It curls around the carved stone, slipping into corners, flowing across terraces. You think about how sound carries differently in moving air. Perhaps chants offered at the temple top traveled further on certain nights, carried away by the seasonal wind. Perhaps messages to the gods were lifted gently toward the stars. The breeze becomes not only a sensation, but also a messenger, bridging earth and sky. The mystery of seasonal winds remains unsolved. Some scholars suggest microclimates, subtle shifts in temperature between stone and jungle, or airflow shaped by the height of pyramids. Others wonder whether the Maya intentionally built their temples to capture these breezes. Still, the phenomenon resists clear explanation. It lingers as one of those quiet puzzles that makes the ancient world feel alive, as though its secrets are still moving through the night air. As you linger in this thought, the scene deepens. The stars above seem brighter now, steady and calm. You hear the faint rustle of leaves far below, mixed with the low hum of insects. Yet here at the temple top, the air feels lighter. You breathe in, slowly, allowing the rhythm of the wind to guide your own breath. Inhale as it comes, exhale as it goes. The night teaches you to move with patience. The Maya understood this patience. Their observations stretched not over hours, but over generations. Parents taught children, who taught grandchildren, who continued to mark the rising of planets and the passing of seasons. The breeze that brushes your face tonight is the same that touched their skin centuries ago. The stars you see are the same they traced onto codices and carved into stone. In this continuity, the boundary between past and present softens. You stand where they once stood, breathing the same air, looking at the same night sky. Eventually, the breeze slows again, fading into stillness. The air rests, as though the temple itself has paused. In that quiet, you feel the immense weight of stone pressing down into the earth, and the equally immense openness of the sky above. Between these two vastnesses, the solid ground and the infinite heavens, you exist, calm and small, part of the great circle of time. The mystery of the seasonal breeze may never be fully explained, and perhaps that is its gift. Some questions are meant not to be answered, but to be experienced. You let the wind brush against your cheek one last time, carrying with it the whispers of centuries, the murmurs of stars, and the sigh of stone temples that have watched the sky longer than memory. Night settles gently, and with it comes stillness. The temples of the Maya stand against the sky, their stones cool after the heat of the day. Yet below their steps, within courtyards and sacred spaces, another kind of observatory waits, not built to rise toward the heavens, but to hold them. These are the pools of calm water, basins carved and tended, mirrors that invite the stars to descend. You imagine yourself standing before such a pool, its surface perfectly still, a dark sheet awaiting the softest touch of light. The Maya were masters of observation, and they understood that vision was not limited to the upward gaze. When you look directly at the sky, stars may scatter, their brilliance blurred by the eye's strain. But when reflected in water, their order becomes sharper, their movements easier to follow. This is no modern invention. It is ancient ingenuity. Pools and reservoirs were not only for sustenance, but for study. In their quiet depths, the Maya saw the heavens twice. Once above, once below. You lean closer in imagination, gazing into the water. The reflection is crisp, more orderly than the vast sky itself. Planets drift across the mirrored surface with clarity. Constellations arrange themselves into familiar shapes, steady and calm. For the observer, this dual vision carried both practical and spiritual weight. Water, in Maya thought, was a bridge between worlds, between earth and underworld, human and divine. To see the stars reflected in water was to glimpse them in two realms at once. The mystery deepens here. Some scholars note that reflections in carefully placed pools could sometimes offer more precise alignments than direct sky watching. Why this worked so well remains debated. Was it the stabilization of vision, the removal of horizon clutter, or some deeper principle of optics known intuitively by ancient minds? The answer is uncertain. What remains is the feeling that moment when water and star meet, when clarity surpasses expectation, when mystery becomes presence. Imagine priests gathered at night around a temple pool. Torches flicker behind them, their flames casting golden light upon stone. Yet the water's surface remains untouched, a black mirror of the cosmos. They kneel, watching Venus appear not above but below, its brilliance steady in the liquid frame. A chant rises, soft and measured, blending with the rhythm of crickets and the distant call of night birds. Observation becomes ritual, and ritual becomes memory, passed down through generations. You linger on the water's surface, noticing how even the faintest breeze could ripple it, bending starlight into trembling lines. Yet tonight, the pool lies perfectly calm, as if the earth itself is holding its breath. You inhale slowly, and the reflection stays still. The peace seeps into you, time eases, the stars remain steady, and the water waits. The Maya shaped reservoirs and channels with extraordinary care, storing rain to nourish crops and sustain ceremonies. These works were practical, yet deeply symbolic. To hold water was to cradle life, and to cradle life was to mirror the heavens. In dry seasons, pools became not just survival, but vision reflections of the sky, reminders of cycles that bind earth and cosmos. Picture yourself now seated beside such a pool. The stone rim is cool, the night air gentle. You lower your hand and touch the surface, sending ripples across the reflected stars. For a moment, the constellations scatter, their shapes dissolving. But soon the pool calms again, and order returns. There is a lesson here, whispered by both water and star. Disturbance is temporary. Clarity returns with stillness, the mystery of why. Reflection sometimes proved more accurate than direct observation remains. Some suggest the angle of vision reduced distortion. Others wonder if the Maya deliberately engineered their pools to maximize clarity, choosing locations, depths, and orientations with astronomical intent. Whatever the method, the result endures. Stars traced more precisely in liquid than in air. The heavens doubled in beauty. The atmosphere of the scene invites you to linger longer. You hear faint splashes in the distance, perhaps frogs entering another pond. The scents of earth and flowers drift on the breeze. The quiet hum of night insects becomes a gentle background song. All the while, the pool at your feet holds steady, a window into eternity. The Milky Way stretches across its surface, not above your head, but before your eyes, close enough to feel intimate, yet vast enough to remain untouchable. The Maya codices, those fragile books of bark and ink, record calculations and predictions. Some of these may have been informed by water gazing. Pages filled with glyphs and numbers trace the cycles of Venus, the turns of the moon, the returns of eclipses. Yet beyond calculation, there is poetry. To imagine an astronomer priest dipping his reed pen after gazing at stars in water is to sense the blending of science and art, of logic and wonder. The night continues in your mind. Clouds drift slowly across the sky, and as they do, the reflection in the pool responds instantly, stars vanishing, then reappearing. You watch, fascinated, at how the heavens seem alive when mirrored. They move not only across vast distances, but across this intimate surface of water, a universe small enough to cup in your hands, yet infinite in meaning. As you rise to leave this imagined scene, you take one last look. The pool lies quiet, its edges dark, its center bright with starlight. You realize that for the Maya, this was more than a tool. It was an encounter. To look into water was to meet the cosmos face to face, to see time and eternity framed together. And in that encounter, calmness blossomed. Some questions remain unanswered. Why did these reflections sometimes sharpen rather than blur? How much of this was intentional engineering? How much was gift of nature? The mystery endures, gentle and unresolved, like ripples that never quite vanish. But perhaps the purpose was never to solve it fully. Perhaps it was always to invite stillness, to encourage the observer to rest, to breathe, to reflect. And so you step away, carrying the calm within. The stars remain above, the water remains below, and between them you walk, part of their rhythm, part of their reflection. Night continues to weave its calm presence, and as you wander softly through the ancient courtyards, something new begins to stir. The air itself carries a quiet surprise. It is not sound, nor light, but fragrance. From the gardens and terraces of the Maya, night flowers slowly open, offering their scents to the darkness. These blossoms are not random, not careless. They belong to rhythms as steady as stars, unfolding when the sky signals their time. You breathe in, and the fragrance feels as if it carries a memory older than words. The Maya tended gardens with both practicality and reverence. Crops sustained the body, but flowers nourished the spirit. They planted not only by the movement of the sun, but by the whisper of stars. Certain blooms were said to follow celestial rhythms, opening only when Venus rose, their petals timed to a planet's cycle. This mystery still intrigues modern scholars, who wonder how deeply the Maya understood the marriage between earth and sky. For you, wandering in imagination, it is enough to notice how scent becomes time's quiet companion. Fragrance is an invisible map. In the still air of night, You sense direction not by footsteps, but by drifting aromas. A sweet perfume leads you toward one side of the courtyard. A sharper, herbal note guides you toward another. To the Maya, such subtleties may have carried more meaning than simple enjoyment. They were signs, messages from the earth that corresponded with the heavens. A blossom's fragrance arriving with Venus may have confirmed what the stars already whispered. You pause near a cluster of night-blooming flowers. Their petals appear pale under moonlight, glowing faintly, almost as if lit from within. The fragrance they release is soft yet persistent, weaving through your senses like a melody without end. You notice how the aroma feels layered, first sweet and almost spicy, then fading into something you cannot name. The mystery of fragrance is that it resists full description. It demands presence rather than explanation. Imagine priests and astronomers walking through similar gardens. As they prepared to mark the rising of Venus, perhaps they also paused by flowers that opened at the same hour. The alignment of scent and star would not have been coincidence in their minds, but connection. A ritual might begin not only with sighting the planet, but with inhaling its companion fragrance. This blending of sensory worlds, vision, and smell created an experience richer than either alone. The historical record suggests that plants and flowers played roles beyond ornament. Some were used in ceremonies, others in medicine, others still in offerings. What is less clear is how their cycles were observed. Did gardeners mark the days when blooms first appeared? Did they record how blossoms responded to moonlight or to Venus's glow? The answers are incomplete, but the idea itself carries wonder. Gardens became calendars, their fragrances ticking off celestial events like the quietest of clocks. You continue walking in imagination, and the fragrance follows. A gentle breeze carries it through the courtyard, mixing with the earthy scent of stone and soil. You think of how fragrance is tied to memory. Even now, a single scent can bring you back to a forgotten moment. For the Maya, this link may have been sacred. To breathe in the perfume of a Venus flower as the planet rose might have been to connect, not just with time, but with ancestors who had done the same centuries before. The mystery of flowers, tied to Venus, is one that invites both curiosity and delight. Botanists still question whether particular species truly bloom in response to planetary cycles or whether the association was symbolic. Yet symbolism has its own truth. If a flower is believed to belong to Venus, then its bloom carries meaning regardless of scientific explanation. It becomes a companion in ritual, a reminder that the cosmos is not distant, but woven into daily life. You find a spot to sit quietly near the blossoms. Their fragrance pools around you, not heavy, not overpowering, but steady. The scent seems to slow your breath, encouraging calm. You realize that fragrance is like rhythm. It cannot be held, only felt. It moves through air, touches you, and continues onward, unseen but undeniable. The Maya must have known this, must have cherished how fragrance connects body, earth, and sky without boundary. The scene remains gentle. Crickets sing their steady chorus. A night bird calls softly, then falls silent again. The fragrance drifts, steady as the stars. You think of modern gardens where flowers bloom according to seasons. Imagine if your own evenings came with blossoms tied not only to months, but to planets. How differently you might measure time, how much more intimate the cosmos might feel. Perhaps you would wait not for clocks, but for fragrance, not for alarms, but for perfume. A touch of humor arises. You wonder if someone long ago tried to oversleep, but was awakened by a blossom's sudden fragrance, an ancient version of a natural alarm clock. The thought makes you smile softly in the night. Even in calm reflection, small jokes feel welcome companions. The Maya believed life was interwoven, that the human body, the earth, and the heavens pulsed with shared rhythms. Fragrance was part of this weaving. When blossoms opened with Venus, they testified that time was not an invention but a presence, something alive. By breathing in, you participated in that presence. Each inhalation was both observation and communion. You close your eyes and let the fragrance linger. It feels timeless, carrying neither beginning nor end. Like stars moving in their patient courses, like the moon waxing and waning, the scent drifts without hurry. You are reminded that life's beauty often lies in what cannot be held: sound fading into silence, fragrance fading into air, moments fading into memory. And yet, their presence lingers in the heart. As the night deepens, you rise once more, taking the fragrance with you. The blossoms remain behind, glowing faintly under the stars, opening in cycles older than history. Their secret is not fully known, their mystery unresolved, yet their gift is simple: calmness carried on the breath of night. Night rests gently on the ancient temples, and now you notice another rhythm, joining the stars and the fragrance of flowers. It comes not from sight, not from perfume, but from sound. The trees surrounding the plazas lean softly toward the breeze, and their leaves create a language of whispers. The sound is steady yet playful, like countless tiny hands brushing silk. Each rustle feels like a reminder that the world is never entirely still. Even when silence seems complete, the Maya lived in landscapes where forests pressed close to their cities. The sound of leaves was constant, day and night, but it was at night that these whispers gained a special quality. Combined with the distant hum of insects and the occasional call of a bird, the rustle became part of an ancient chorus. To the Maya, this chorus was not background noise, but a companion. They believed that rhythms of nature were woven into the rhythms of the sky. If the stars had cycles, so too did the wind and the leaves. Music was a bridge between these realms. In Maya culture, instruments such as drums, flutes, and rattles were central to ritual. Their beats and tones often echoed the patterns of planets and seasons. Some ceremonies were timed to the rising of Venus or the phases of the moon, and music gave these events a heartbeat. The sound of leaves, soft and shifting, may have inspired certain rhythms or served as a backdrop to songs that sought to harmonize with the cosmos. Scholars continue to wonder if these songs encoded astronomical data. You pause beneath a large tree. Its trunk is wide, its roots gripping the earth like careful fingers, and its leaves respond gently to each movement of air. The rustle sounds almost like water, flowing without beginning or end. You imagine ancient musicians sitting here, listening, then shaping melodies to reflect what they heard. A flute might echo the upward sweep of a breeze, while a drum might capture the steady pulse that lies beneath the shifting sound. The forest, in this way, became both teacher and orchestra. The historical record shows that Maya ceremonies often included music aligned with celestial observation. Priests would chant or play as planets reached specific points in their cycles. The songs were not mere decoration. They were thought to call down balance between earth and sky. Yet the exact meanings of these chants remain unclear. Some fragments survive, carved into stone or hinted at in codices, but their full significance is hidden. The melodies themselves have vanished into air, like the whispers of leaves. You let your imagination supply what history cannot. A circle of people stands in a plaza. Above them, Venus glows brightly in the evening sky. Around them, torches burn, their flames flickering in rhythm with the night breeze. Musicians lift flutes, and a slow, haunting tune rises. Drummers follow, striking patterns that echo the footsteps of constellations across the heavens. The rustling leaves join in, not as instruments, but as participants, adding texture to the music. Together, sky, forest, and human voices create a harmony larger than any one part. Sound carries memory, just as fragrance does. A certain rhythm might remind someone of a season, a festival, or even a specific alignment of stars. Imagine a child falling asleep to the sound of a distant drum, knowing that tomorrow the people would gather to honor the sun. Imagine an elder hearing the same beat and recalling a ceremony from decades past. The connection between music, memory, and astronomy wove human life into the fabric of cosmic time. The mystery is that we cannot hear these exact songs today. Archaeologists uncover instruments, and linguists decipher glyphs, but the melodies remain silent. We can only guess how they sounded, only imagine the way they echoed across plazas. Yet this absence carries its own beauty. It allows you to listen inwardly, to hear the songs within the rustle of leaves tonight. The music is not gone entirely. It lingers in the patterns of nature, waiting for ears willing to listen slowly. You walk further along a shaded path. The trees arch above you, forming a kind of cathedral roof. Their leaves tremble softly, and every shift feels like a hymn. The sound is light enough not to disturb, yet steady enough to remind you of time passing gently. You think of how modern people often measure time with machines that tick and hum. The Maya measured time with music, with ceremonies aligned to celestial order. In some ways, perhaps their clocks were more human. A quiet smile comes to you as you imagine someone in the past trying to join in with the leaf choir, whistling out of tune, but still convinced they added meaning. Humor, after all, has always been a companion to ritual. Even serious ceremonies must have contained moments where a drum beat slipped or a flute squeaked unexpectedly, much to the amusement of those present. The cosmos is vast, but human laughter finds its way into every corner. The leaves continue to whisper, and you let their rhythm guide your breathing. Each inhale feels matched to their rise, each exhale to their fall. The trees remind you that music does not always need instruments. Sometimes the world itself performs, and all you need is to listen. For the Maya, this awareness was woven into their worldview, that the natural and the celestial, the human and the divine, sang together in constant dialogue. As the night deepens, you stand still for a moment. The rustling fades, then returns, always changing, never fully predictable. The sound is both soothing and mysterious. Perhaps that is why the Maya gave so much attention to rhythm and song. They knew that patterns carry meaning, even when words fail. They knew that music could reveal what silence hides. You breathe once more, listening to the leaves as if they were voices from the past. Their whispers carry secrets not yet understood, melodies not yet recovered. But in their sound lies comfort, a reminder that the universe speaks in many languages, and some of them are as gentle as a leaf trembling in the night. The night sky has settled into its quiet rhythm, and now the moon begins its slow ascent. It rises above the horizon, round and luminous, casting a silver path across the land. The temples gleam faintly, their outlines softened by light, and the stone steps leading upward toward ancient observatories glow as if painted with liquid silver. Each step seems to hold a memory, carved not only by hands, but also by centuries of footsteps. You pause at the base of one such staircase. The air is still, save for the occasional call of a night bird and the hush of leaves. Looking upward, you see how the moon's light seems to move from one step to the next, as though tracing a path. Slowly, with each shift in the sky, the light glides along the stone. The rhythm is so gentle, it feels less like motion and more like breathing. For the Maya, these steps were not merely practical. They were sacred passages, connecting earth to sky. Ceremonies dedicated to the moon often took place upon them. People climbed in quiet procession, their feet tapping out a rhythm that joined the songs and chants below. As they ascended, they drew closer not just to the observatory above, but also to the celestial cycles they honored. The act of walking the steps was itself ritual, a reminder that the journey upward mirrored the moon's own climb across the heavens. Historical accounts suggest that festivals honoring the moon were marked with music, offerings, and light. The stone steps, illuminated by torches, or the moon itself, became stages for movement and prayer. Priests may have paused on certain steps to chant or to watch the light fall in particular ways. These pauses were not random. Many of the stairways hold marks or indentations that correspond with lunar cycles. Some align with the timing of full moons, others with eclipses. Yet the exact reasons remain uncertain, their meanings half hidden like shadows cast by the stones themselves. Imagine standing among a crowd gathered at the foot of these steps centuries ago. The air carries the scent of smoke from burning resin, mingling with night flowers. The moon is full, round, steady, and people whisper of its power. Musicians begin to play a soft beat on drums, a gentle sigh of flutes, and the procession starts. One by one, figures climb. The stone is cool beneath their feet, and each step feels heavy with significance. As the moonlight touches the stones, it becomes part of the ritual, as if the sky itself is joining the ceremony. You can almost hear the silence between the sounds, a silence filled not with emptiness, but with expectation. Every step upward is a gesture of reverence, every pause a chance to notice how the moon shifts in the sky. Perhaps priests studied how its light touched certain carvings. Perhaps they measured time not in hours, but in the way shadows stretched or faded. Historians today still puzzle over markings etched into the stone lines and grooves that appear to match lunar cycles, but whose exact purpose remains elusive. Did they serve as calendars? Or were they reminders of stories now forgotten? The mystery deepens when you consider how carefully the Maya observed the sky. Their precision in astronomy is undeniable. Yet here, on these steps, the blend of calculation and ritual becomes harder to untangle. Were the marks tools for prediction, or were they sacred symbols meant to harmonize with ceremony? The stones do not answer directly. They simply hold their grooves quietly, allowing light and shadow to speak across centuries. You continue upward slowly, imagining yourself as part of that ancient line of worshippers. The air cools as you climb. The moon seems closer with each step, though of course it remains distant, high above. Still, the illusion is strong. The staircase feels like a bridge, narrowing the space between human life and celestial rhythm. The further you climb, the more the sounds below fade, until only the whisper of the breeze and your own heartbeat remain at the top. The view opens wide. The landscape spreads out, bathed in pale light. Pools of shadow rest beneath trees, while rooftops of temples glow softly. The observatory stands behind you, its carved windows aligned to points in the sky. But in this moment, it is the steps themselves that hold your attention. You realize that they, too, are instruments not of music, but of light. The way the moon touches them is too precise, too deliberate to be chance. And yet the meaning is still hidden. You sit for a while, letting the silver light rest upon your face. Time passes slowly, measured only by the drift of the moon and the coolness of stone beneath you. It feels as though you are sharing a secret with the past, one whispered not in words, but in light. The Maya once gathered here for reasons we can only partly understand. But their reverence lingers, etched into stone, and remembered by the moon's steady glow. The thought brings calm. You realize that not every mystery demands solving. Some are meant to remain as gentle echoes, guiding reflection rather than providing answers. The marks on the steps, the ceremonies once held here, the alignment of light all, continue to invite wonder. That wonder, perhaps, is their true purpose. As you prepare to descend, you look once more at the staircase below. The moonlight still moves across the steps, unhurried and serene. Each stone glimmers softly, a reminder that time flows in cycles, not lines. Just as the moon will wane and return, so too moments of wonder rise and fade. You step carefully downward, carrying with you the sense that each footfall is part of an older rhythm, one that connects the human heart to the heavens above. The night is deep now, yet the light endures. The moon continues its watch, touching the stones gently, as it has for centuries. And with every touch, the mystery remains an invitation to walk slowly, to listen closely, and to see the world as both earthly and celestial at once. Night deepens, and the sky stretches wide above the temples. The stars appear one by one, then in clusters, until the heavens are filled with quiet brilliance. Their light is not harsh, but steady, each point a reminder of distances we cannot fully imagine. For the Maya, this canopy of stars was more than beauty. It was order, a vast rhythm that guided the flow of life on earth. You stand among the ancient stones, and the air feels hushed, as though waiting. When you tilt your gaze upward, the sky reveals not chaos, but pattern. The constellations arrange themselves into familiar shapes, and their rising and setting mark the passage of time. The Maya believed that such order was no accident. To them, the universe carried harmony, a structure that bound together human life, nature, and the heavens dot in their worldview. Crops grew not only with sun and rain, but also with the alignment of stars. Festivals followed cycles of the moon and the shifting of planets. Rulers sought legitimacy in the timing of celestial events, believing their authority mirrored the balance of the skies. Harmony in the heavens meant harmony on earth. Disruption above could echo below as droughts, conflicts, or misfortune. To ignore the stars was to ignore the deeper order shaping existence. Imagine walking through a Maya city at night centuries ago. Fires flicker in courtyards, casting warm circles of light. Musicians play softly, weaving sound into the cool evening air. People look upward often, not idly but with reverence, for the night sky was their clock, their compass, their scripture. Every star shimmered with meaning, and every pattern hinted at cycles larger than a single. Life. Historical records and surviving codices show how deeply this belief ran. The Tsukan and Hab calendars were not just practical tools, they were reflections of cosmic order. To plant maize on the wrong day was not only an agricultural risk, it was a spiritual disharmony. Priests trained for years to read the sky and its rhythms, ensuring that ritual, governance, and daily life remained aligned with the larger pattern. Harmony was both survival and devotion, and yet mysteries linger. Many details of how the Maya interpreted specific star cycles remain hidden. Scholars have uncovered fragments of astronomical tables, notes on eclipses, and calculations of Venus, but gaps remain, wide enough to leave modern researchers wondering. Why did they pay such special attention to certain stars, certain alignments, certain rhythms? Some answers lie in agriculture and ritual, but others remain elusive. Like whispers carried off by the wind, you pause and breathe in the stillness. Overhead, the Milky Way stretches like a river of light, a band that the Maya associated with the great world tree, the axis connecting realms. Its flow across the sky was not merely beautiful, it was symbolic of cosmic order itself, an eternal path that joined heavens, earth, and underworld. To watch its progress was to glimpse the spine of creation. There is a calm that comes with this vision. You sense how the Maya may have felt standing where you are now, small beneath the stars, yet also included in their order. The body follows the breath follows the heart, and the heart follows rhythms much older than humanity. To live in harmony with those rhythms was, for them, the essence of wisdom. Some scholars argue that this harmony was practical, rooted in careful observation of cycles that ensured survival. Others suggest it was symbolic, a way to frame human life with meaning. Perhaps it was both. What remains clear is that the Maya did not see themselves apart from the cosmos. They were woven into it, like threads in a vast tapestry, each star a knot of light, holding the fabric together. You imagine the end of a long ritual night. Priests extinguish torches, leaving only the glow of embers. Families retreat quietly to their homes, carrying with them the assurance that tomorrow will unfold as it should. because the stars still shine in their rightful places. Harmony above promises continuity below. The silence of the night is not emptiness, but reassurance. Today, when astronomers look back at Maya achievements, they find calculations astonishing in their accuracy. Eclipses, solstices, planetary cycles, all were tracked with a precision that challenges the tools they had available. Yet even with this brilliance, some details remain puzzling. Historians still debate how they reached such accuracy and what hidden methods they used. In these unanswered questions lies part of the wonder. The Maya saw harmony everywhere, but the full depth of their knowledge is still beyond our reach. Standing beneath the same stars, you feel the continuity of human curiosity. Though centuries separate us, the impulse is the same, to look upward and seek meaning. The Maya found harmony. We search for data, for equations, for explanations. Yet beneath both lies the same awe, the same quiet need to connect ourselves to something larger. The night continues, and the stars drift slowly westward. Each shift is imperceptible, but together they mark the passage of time. You realize that this is the essence of harmony, not perfection, not stillness, but movement in balance. The Maya recognized this. Life, like the heavens, is not static. It flows. The stars rise and set, the moon waxes and wanes, and within these motions lies the pattern that gives life shape. You close your eyes, letting the thoughts settle like a soft rhythm. Harmony in every star, this was the gift the Maya left behind. They revealed that order exists within vastness, that meaning lives not only in myths, but also in cycles traced across the heavens. Though countless mysteries remain, the feeling of alignment, of belonging to something greater endures, just as it did centuries ago. The night deepens. Above you, the stars continue their timeless paths, each one steady, each one silent. They do not demand, nor do they explain. Instead, they offer presence patient, unwavering, eternal. Their quiet message lingers. Harmony has always been here, woven into the fabric of the cosmos, waiting only for eyes willing to see and hearts willing to rest in its rhythm. The night has settled into its deepest hour, and the silence feels almost eternal. Above, countless stars scatter across the vast black canvas, each one shining with calm precision, as if every light knows its rightful place. The moon hangs low, casting a pale glow that washes over the temple stones, turning their rough surfaces into gleaming silver. The air cools gently, wrapping around you like a soft, unseen blanket. You pause in the stillness, taking in the quiet rhythm of this ancient space. With each slow breath, the world seems to ease into a slower tempo. Time softens, the weight of the day falls away, and you stand suspended between earth and sky. At peace in the hush of night, the great pyramids stretch upward, their edges catching the moonlight. Some shadows fall in sharp lines, others blur into the night, yet all of them feel steady, patient, and eternal. The temples of the Maya were not only monuments of stone, but markers of time. Each angle and surface seemed to speak to the rhythm of the sky. Even now, centuries later, their presence reminds us of how carefully they were aligned to stars and planets that still shine above. The pools near the temples lie motionless. Their dark surfaces turn into mirrors, reflecting constellations as clearly as glass. The reflections tremble slightly when the wind passes, but soon return to stillness, offering a second sky that stretches beneath your feet. You gaze into the water and see the stars twice, once in the heavens and once below. The Maya themselves once leaned over such pools, reading the mirrored constellations with patience and reverence. Many of their observatories have lasted through centuries. El Caracol at Chichen Itza still stands, its round form rising gently above the trees. Its windows and openings frame the heavens in ways that remain surprising to modern science. Each alignment is deliberate, chosen to capture a celestial event, a rising star, or the long path of Venus across the horizon. These structures have endured storms, sun, and the slow passing of time, yet they remain steady, like guardians watching the skies. Historians marvel at their longevity. For hundreds of years, these observatories functioned without interruption, recording patterns and shaping rituals. What puzzles many today is not only the precision of their design, but the deeper intent behind them. Some alignments make sense: solstices, equinoxes, the crossing of Venus, but others remain unexplained. Certain windows or pathways point to stars or clusters that seem random to us. Some scholars suggest agricultural reasons, while others believe spiritual meanings are hidden in the designs. The truth continues to elude us, and perhaps that mystery is part of the gift. You tilt your head back, and the Milky Way arches high above. It looks like a river of pale light, slow and eternal. To the Maya, it was the world tree, its branches carrying life into the heavens. Its presence was not simply astronomical but spiritual, a reminder that existence itself was woven into cosmic order. Standing here now, you feel how their perspective can still touch us. The sky above is not just distant space, but a companion, steady and endlessly present. The wind drifts gently through the temple grounds. It moves in soft currents, flowing along the stone pathways and rising up the pyramid steps. Each breath of air carries the faint scent of earth and distant flowers. The sound of leaves swaying mixes with the far-off call of night birds. No moment feels rushed, no motion hurried. Even the passage of time seems to stretch. Slowed by the vastness of the sky dot in this stillness, you imagine the final hours of a ritual night long ago. Torches burned low, casting orange light onto carved walls. Priests stood quietly, waiting for the first glimmers of dawn, but their eyes lingered on the stars above. Families gathered in courtyards whispered to one another, voices hushed so as not to disturb the harmony of the night. The stars marked the rhythm of these hours, steady as the beating of a heart. The Maya believed that true living meant staying in balance with celestial patterns. When the heavens moved in harmony, life on earth could flow with ease. A disruption in the skies might warn of struggle, but steady rhythms promised stability. This belief guided farming, rituals, and the very shape of their days, carrying them through centuries. Even now, the thought feels comforting, that a quiet order exists above us, written across the stars, waiting for anyone who slows down long enough to notice. You close your eyes and listen. The hum of the earth, the quiet sigh of the wind, and the soft glow of the moon blend together into a rhythm. The stars do not hurry, and neither must you. The heavens unfold with patience, and in that patience, you too can rest. Now, let your breathing grow slower. The stars above form their endless patterns, and the moon still sends its silver touch across the pyramids. You are safe in this stillness, and each breath draws you deeper into calm. The Maya once trusted the sky to guide them, and tonight you can do the same. Imagine your thoughts settling, like stones resting quietly at the bottom of a clear pool. The ripples fade, and the water becomes still. Above, constellations glow, steady and patient, marking time in silence. You are not separate from this rhythm. You are part of it. The observatories that remain after hundreds of years remind us of the same truth. Even as life changes, the stars endure. Their harmony continues, offering a reminder that peace is always within reach. You need only look upward, breathe, and let yourself align with their gentle order. Let your eyelids grow heavier. Let your body loosen, as though each muscle is placing itself down gently onto soft ground. The world outside can wait. For now, there is only the calm presence of night, the faint glow of stars, and the rhythm of your breath. Good night, sleep well, and see you again. End of script. Thank you for listening, everyone.